Before I do our invocations, I would like to invite Ms. Ann Rico, a United States Army veteran, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Ms. Rico served as a 75th Delta in the Army from 1981 to 1986. She is currently retired at the post office. Ms. Rico, we thank you for your service to our country, and we ask that after the invocation, you come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we come boldly unto the throne of grace that we might obtain mercy and find grace to help in the time of need. There's never a time that we won't need you. You're the giver and the sustainer of life. So we look to you as our source, the one who is the creator of heaven and earth and all the inhabitants therein. Thank you for your bountiful blessings upon this region and upon this your people. Cover us with your presence in this meeting tonight. Go before our commissioners, causing every valley to be exalted, every mountain to be brought low, every crooked place straight, every rough place smooth. For with you nothing shall be impossible. Give our commissioners leading and guidance as they govern the affairs of your people. Rest upon them with your holy presence, and let your hand be upon their individual lives in these most unprecedented of times. Who knows whether they have come to this government for such a time as this? You see the agenda before them, and we ask that you would allow them to have peace in their spirit with every decision they make. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is the speakers from the floor. I have two that have signed up thus far. First one was Ms. Angel Golston. Ms. Golston, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Chairman and County Commissioners. My name is Angel Golston, and I graduated from Guilford College in Community Justice Studies with the nonprofit and nonprofit management. Then I went on to get my Grand Canyon in addiction counseling. But I'm also a North Carolina State and National Peer Support Specialist. And before COVID, we trained over 2,500 people in the state of North Carolina at the Nussbaum Center, all over. Okay, retired lawyers, judges, whoever it may be. But the reason I'm here today is I went to IRC this weekend, and I know that there's a problem with housing. You know, we're trying to take care of that. But I was born and raised in Greensboro. I have seen everything where different people are trying to put up housing. But what I feel like, yes, you have specialists and stuff, but they do not know what it's like to be traumatized, okay? I have all the degrees, but one thing some people do not have, I was sentenced to 20 years in prison, okay? I did 10 years and had a baby, came out and sued the Department of Correction. I'm one of the four that's still alive, that not only have my college degree, but working on my master's, okay? And I wanted to be, and I wanted to talk to Mr. Austin, I want to be a part of that task force for homelessness, because you don't know what all it takes to survive in the streets. It's rough. It really is. And I just feel like that also me being a licensed clinician and a mental health specialist, I know I went out in the county, and I know the CARES Act is over with, but I went out in the county and I see elderly people out there with no wood, house about burned down, okay? I'm getting people to chop up wood. I'm trying to get them here. It takes 30 or 40 minutes to drive them here. But the CARES Act is over with. Some of them cannot read or write, don't have TVs, you know. But again, they live in the county. We're missing these folks, okay? And as peer support, that's part of our job, is going out there and getting these people and bringing them to the doctor, make sure they're on their medication. And that's what some of them really need, is their medication. You know, I worked at Daymart, got beat up, done got shot at. But does that stop me? No, I am one of them. Because when I got out of prison, I weighed over 500 pounds, released with 23 medications and $20. And my mama didn't even recognize me. And I had not one person. Oh, that's me. Okay.
Go ahead and finish your statement,
Okay,
ma'am.
I had not one person I was trying to get my children back, but I had no person could tell me where I needed to go to do A, B, C, D. Now, I have an organization, Striving for Change, been in business 17 years, and what I do, I work with the Guilford County reentry, and I help those people coming out of prison to get their ID, to get their Medicaid, help with housing. I help do all of that. Don't get paid for it, but it's in my heart. And I'm one of those people, so I never forget where I come from. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gosling. Appreciate those words. Appreciate it. Next speaker is Ms. Margaret, is it Villains? Ms. Villains?
Lonnie, thank you. And coincidentally, I'm also a graduate of Guilford College. I'm here today to speak about medically related debt. The Kaiser Family Foundation did a survey in February to March of 2022, and 41% of the adults said they had medically related debt. 54% of the people with debt had debt over $10,000, and some of the people actually had family income over $90,000. So the Kaiser family dug a little deeper into this situation to get a better understanding of what was driving this. So they compared median liquid assets of households with maximum out-of-pocket limits of private insurance plans for in-network services in the year 2019. And they found that the maximum out-of-pocket limit for private plans in 2019 for family coverage was $15,800, which was 3 times the household liquid assets of $5,000. Likewise, for single-person households with family liquid assets of $3,000, they faced a maximum out-of-pocket limit of $7,900, more than twice the liquid assets. The share of households without enough liquid assets to pay typical private plan cost sharing in 2019 ran from 42% in families, multi-person families, to 45% for single families. And when you look at high deductible plans, the numbers rise into the 60s. So is it any wonder that when this body commissioned a survey to find out how the citizens of Greensboro wanted their American Rescue Funds spent, healthcare access was #1. People just can't afford to see a doctor, and this has big ramifications because debt itself is a health risk. People begin to ration medication, they delay care. Now, I've given you a lot of statistics, but we're talking about real people, and I happen to have a distant relative who was an auto body shop owner, and he covered all of his employees with health insurance. When he came down with colon cancer, he decided he could not afford the out-of-pocket expenditures, so he delayed his care until he was 65, and he did not make it to 65. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers from the floor? Saying that portion of our agenda is now closed. My understanding is Ms. Anderson is on her way. So we will wait on her in order to do the resolution honoring her. We'll go to Commissioner Frankie Jones for a resolution calling for nonviolence in February 2023. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Chair. At this point, I'd call up Dr. Irish Spencer and anyone else who is here for this resolution declaring February 2023 a month of nonviolence in Guilford County. And Dr. Spencer, you come up to the middle. And then once I finish reading it, I'll present it to you, and you'll go down, shake hands, and then you'll have an opportunity to address us from the microphone. And I'll say as I begin this resolution that this is personal to me as well. My best friend was the victim of a homicide here in Greensboro back in September of 2014. So this is certainly personal. Whereas violence is a significant problem throughout our country, state and county, that affects people in all stages of life, from infants to the elderly. And whereas in 2020, over 2,400 North Carolina residents died as a result of violence, the leading method being gun-related deaths, which totaled 1,651. Whereas in 2020, Guilford County experienced 1,676 violent deaths, the highest number observed in 10 years, with 56% of these deaths attributed to suicides and 39% attributed to homicides. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control has found that although there are a significant number of violent deaths in this country each year, there are many more individuals who survive violence and are left with permanent physical, mental, and emotional scars, and that this violence erodes communities by reducing productivity, decreasing property values, and disrupting social services. And whereas these findings demonstrate the prevalence of violence and its detrimental effects upon citizens of this state and county, which require collaborative, multidisciplinary solutions that address the root causes of violence, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities we serve is one of our highest responsibilities, and Guilford County recognizes the need to provide positive and safe environments for our citizens through community programs, as well as mental and behavioral health services. And whereas Guilford County joins with our local municipalities and businesses, along with our nonprofit, community, and faith-based organizations, such as Mothers Standing Against Gun Violence, Families Against Senseless Killings, High Point Peacemakers, Commander Peace Academy, Black Men United, and Brothers Organized to Serve Others, to declare a ceasefire on violence throughout the county during the month of February 2023. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Guilford County Board of Commissioners declares February 2023 a month of nonviolence in Guilford County, and will continue with this commitment to prioritizing our existing networks and relationships with local municipalities, businesses, community partners, and residents in addressing the underlying social, economic, systemic factors that promote the multifaceted problem of violence. Adopted this, the 19th day of January, 2023, in witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the corporate seal of the County of Guilford to be affixed this, the 19th day of January, 2023. Melvin Skip Austin, Chairman, Guilford County Board of Commissioners. Thank you. And if you'll start down with Commissioner Upchurch.
Well, let me do this,
Yes.
Mr. Jones. Because of COVID and the flu seasons, I'm asking that we don't shake hands, so we kind of be protective of each other. But we acknowledge you. If you'd like to say a few words, please go to the podium.
And before you do that, I do want to present you with the resolution.
Please make some comments.
If you could grant me just a slight thing for everyone that's here to support us, to come either stand up or stand behind Tanya and I. This is very hard for us, and because we both lost children in 2016 to gun violence, and they were murdered, and the guy that murdered my child, he was caught. The person that murdered her babies. They were caught, finally. We have asked for a ceasefire, and as of the official ceasefire date started on Saturday for the 14th, when we had the ceasefire event at the Carolina Theater, we have had 0 homicides so far. And it's because of Tanya. She's got a crew that goes deep and tell folks and meet with people that you don't want to meet with and see to please lay those guns down. You've got moms out here, they're talking, they're in the community. Please lay those guns down. Mothers are tired. We're very tired. And we're also dealing with helping a mom get their baby out of the morgue. They can't afford it. So they call us. And we help pay for it. We get $0 from local, state, national, federal. We get 0. We go in our pockets and we ask. We ask community citizens to help us. We ask good corporate citizens to help us. And we're bringing more and more awareness. And I want to thank you for bringing this as a resolution, because there is a mom, an example in Wilmington, whose child came to a party in Greensboro, who died at a party. And the mom called and said, I have no means to come to Greensboro and pick my baby up. So we do. We get on the phone. We have a little group of people. They'll go pick that child up out of the morgue and they drive them back to Wilmington to the mom. We do a lot. And we thank you for acknowledging this. And I'm going to turn it over to Tanya before I start crying.
Thank you. That's all I have to say. She said it all.
Okay,
She
come on,
said it
Enrique.
all.
I just want to say thank you as well. As you know, we did a proclamation for January to be ceasefire. Maybe we need to do one for every single month and see if that works. But I do want to acknowledge every single one of those who are here today, because these ladies, these mothers who have lost their children, go out into the neighborhoods where these homicides have occurred and go along with Crime Stoppers, victim advocates, the police department, elected officials. The mayor and I go as often as we can, but going into places where most people won't go. And we hand out flyers. And one thing about Crime Stoppers, I'm telling you, I am on the board, disclaimer. However, I do want to say, after every single walk, we get tips. Now, it may not be a tip about the homicide that was in that neighborhood, but they call in a lot of tips on many other things. So I want to commend Tanya, Mothers Standing Against Gun Violence, Irish Families Against Senseless Killings. These ladies have lost their children. I can't imagine anything worse, but they are turning it around to try to stop the violence in Greensboro. Thank you.
Thank you.
You all, thank you for the work that you do and continue to do it. Thank you. All right, we're still waiting for Ms. Anderson to arrive. So we'll go on until she, with the agenda, until she comes in. Next item is the consent agenda. Let me call your attention to the addendum also before you. That's to be added to the consent agenda. Do I have any items that want to be considered separately on that consent agenda? If not, do I hear a motion?
Move approval. Second.
Moving and properly second. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify the addendum would also include the 2 items from the work session to be added under new business, if that's the board's intent.
We didn't get a chance to discuss those, so those will be added to under new business. All right. So all those favors, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Next item is on new business, and the 2 items that the clerk talked about, we put those in at the end of the new business. So the first one is our budget amendment on the animal shelters donation for $10,000. Jorge going to speak to that.
Good afternoon. So I'm here to recognize the Newby family for their generous donation. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here with us tonight, but I will be personally delivering the certificate of appreciation that they've received from the commissioners. Briefly give some history of how the donation came about. Heartworms are spread by mosquitoes. If an affected mosquito bites a dog, it deposits a worm that eventually grows to the size of spaghetti noodles in the dog's heart. If left untreated, they will cause permanent damage to the heart and may lead to death. When a dog enters the shelter, we take a blood test. Following the guidelines of the American Heartworm Society, once a dog has tested positive for heartworms, we begin the treatment and process. Heartworm treatments typically last around 90 days, and those treatments consist of heartworm preventatives, antibiotics, and injectable medications. Animal Services does not turn its back on rescuing heartworm-positive dogs, despite the high cost to treat this painful and deadly disease. At any given time, we care for about 30 heartworm-positive dogs, in which the treatment can range from $300 to $800 for each dog. Several years ago, we created the Have a Heart Fund, which is designated to give each heartworm-positive dog an opportunity to enjoy a second chance of a happy and healthy life. Therefore, Guilford County Animal Services would like to recognize the Thomas and Beverly Newby family for their generous $10,000 donation to the animal shelter. These funds would be allocated to the Have a Heart Fund to treat dogs who are suffering with heartworms. This donation will allow Animal Services to serve about 15 to 20 heartworm-positive dogs.
Any questions for Mr. Ortega? All right, thank you very much. This is an action item. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moving and properly second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you, Mr. Ortega.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and bring back any other more contributions if you can.
Yes, sir. We'll continue.
Next item on new business is sale of surplus property at 5009A North Carolina Highway 150 East in Brown Summit. Eric?
Thank you. This is the property that was presented to the county with an unsolicited offer to purchase, and it went into the upset bid process per the general statutes until the bidding ceased. The bid closed out at $260,000. I think I need to ask Madam Attorney if there was any changes to this action that we need to discuss tonight before I move any further into telling you what we're asking you to do.
Yes, we're asking, instead of adopting the matter in substantial form before you tonight, we're asking that staff be allowed to, first, that the board would accept the offer of $260,000, and then to authorize staff to move forward with taking all reasonable and necessary steps to obtain mutual terms that will be brought back before this board for adoption in terms of contract. So we would bring a contract back before the board, but we're just asking that you all accept the offer tonight.
The offer was received through the statutory process of repeated upset bids until none was received. That ended up at $260,000 as we have there. We've received all the deposits and necessary documents to move ahead, and we're presenting you with the offer tonight to accept the offer, and then when we close the final terms of the contract with the prospective buyer, we'll bring that back for approval.
Right. Do anyone want to repeat the motion that our attorney stated that we need to make?
I'll try to say it succinctly. The motion would be to accept the offer of $260,000 and to authorize staff to enter into negotiations with the buyer and bring the contract back before the board upon mutually agreed upon terms.
Wants to make that motion as so stated? Ms. Cook?
I just taking notes.
Well, you can say as stated by our attorney.
Oh, I can?
Yes.
I make a motion that we move as stated by Madam Attorney.
Second.
Oh, I didn't even take notes.
Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please cast your vote.
Questions?
Someone have a question? Ms. Cashin? I'm sorry. Let me see.
Yeah, are we not concluding the sale because of a contingency, or what is the, why delay?
The buyer made a request of us after this had already been entered into the process. It was later this week about an issue that they wanted to address. I don't know how much detail I should or shouldn't go into here, so I'm a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but they brought a suggestion to us, and we've been working that through legal, and I can hand it over to the attorney from that point.
Commissioner Cashin, yes, the buyer is interested in perhaps moving forward with, well, is definitely interested in proceeding with the property. However, there are some additional contractual pieces of it, including the zoning of the property that would need to take place in terms of the due diligence period. And so this allows them to do that and allows us to finalize the contract without delaying the acceptance of the offer.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Next item is 2019 Justice Assistance Grant, the JAG application. Garfield.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Tommy Bumpus, Captain with the Guilford County Sheriff Office. If I can have you all to, I think page 20, our legal team added some additional language to questions, the certifications for, I think it's number 3 and number 4. And while it is clear that on February 3rd, 2022, the board reviewed the JAG grant award and accepted and approved the reappropriation of the grant funds, precise compliance with certifications number 3 and 4 above requires the actual grant application be submitted to the board at least 30 days prior to the manager signing the certification, and before the date of the certification, that the application be made public and the citizenry and the local community organizations be given the opportunity to comment on that application. In order for us to ensure 100% compliance with certifications number 3 and number 4, This matter is being placed on the January 19th, 2023 agenda where public comment is invited. And we are requesting that there's a review and approval of the 2019 Justice Assistance Grant application for award period October 1, 2021 through September 30th, 2022 to invite public comment and ensure 100% compliance with all certifications and assurances required by the U.S. Department of Justice, the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
All right, any questions or clarification? Mr. Upchurch?
Mr. Chairman, because of the retreat, does this need to be, do I need to issue a friendly amendment to change the date? He said February 3rd. Are we still going to meet?
Well, we'll be meeting on the 2nd and the 3rd.
Okay, but is this something that we would take care of at that time, since we're not going to be meeting in this chambers?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Upchurch, I believe the reference that you are mentioning is February 3rd, 2022. He was just referencing that the application came before you at that time, not to be approved.
Understand, thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions? Do you hear a motion? Mr.
Just a clarification. So it says that in this motion or in this with the requested action that public comment had to be invited. What exactly is the format? I mean, is that for public comments to come to the manager anytime within the 30-day waiting period, or is that tonight? I just want to clarify what it means so that we enjoy seeing you, but I don't want you to have to do this a third time. So I just want to make sure in terms of what that means for the public comment piece.
In reviewing the statute, Commissioner Jones, it appears that the federal statute does not require a separate public hearing comment like we might experience with zoning hearings, but simply that the agenda item is posted and individuals are permitted to participate in our established public comment period. And so, no, it would not require Mr. Bumpus to come back, but certainly that we would move forward, and the opportunity was tonight, during tonight's public comment period.
Thank you.
Further comments or questions? Do you hear a motion?
Second.
Second, further discussion on the motion. Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Next item is resolution of the Board of Commissioners for the County of Guilford, North Carolina, declaring its intention to reimburse said county from the proceeds of one or more tax-exempt financing for certain capital expenditures. Mr. Barfield.
Thank you. On May 2nd, 2022, Guilford County voters approved a referendum authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds in the amount of $1.7 billion for acquisition, construction, improvement, and expansion of Guilford County school facilities and the acquisition and installation of furnishings and equipment. Guilford County has the intent to proceed with the issuance of said bonds based on a presented funding plan, and the county will be reimbursed for any related expenditures that occur on or before issuance. The Board of Commissioners has determined that monies advanced by the county for capital expenditures will be reimbursed from one or more tax-exempt financings. So the requested action is that you adopt a resolution which will declare the county's intent to reimburse the county with proceeds from tax-exempt financing for reimbursable expenditures that are properly chargeable to the capital accounts under general federal income tax principles. Reimbursable cost of issuance, which is with respect to tax-exempt financing, and then third, other reimbursable costs that are not customarily payable from current revenues.
Questions, Mr. Barfield? And now do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moving to properly second. Any questions? All those in favor, please cast your vote.
Commissioner Murphy?
That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you, Mr. Barfield. Next one is the lease agreement between Guilford County and the Guilford County Board of Education. Mr. Halford or Mr. Barfield.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chairman. If you recall at our work session prior to the one just before this meeting, we discussed renewing a lease agreement that went into effect, I think ultimately back in 2011, I think finally was executed, between the Guilford County Board of Commissioners and then the Guilford County Board of Education to allow the county to reclaim sales tax paid for on school construction and renovation projects. There is a master agency agreement that sets up the overall program between the two boards, but what is required then is a lease agreement. So effectively, during the construction period, the county is leasing the school buildings, and because we are leasing the buildings during that construction and renovation period, it allows us to submit claims for a refund of the sales tax. The school system on its own, sales tax in Guilford County is 6.75%, made up a lot of individual sales taxes. The school system on its own can claim reimbursement for 2%, the local part of the full amount, but cannot access the additional 4.75%. This allows the county to do that for them as well. This was back when it was first initiated, run by the Department of Revenue, and then modeled after different programs in the state. So this is the second part of the master agreement. It expired 10 years after the first one, so we need to get this one back in place for the new sets of bonds.
Questions from the manager? Clarification? Do you hear a motion?
Second.
Properly second. Further discussion? Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Next item is adopt 2023 disparity study and the recommendations. Ms. Thomas.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners. Thank you for having us back again tonight. Tonight we'd like to ask you as a Board of Commissioners to adopt the 2023 disparity study and its recommendations. The board received on January 5th the presentation outlining the recommendations from the study, and they also received the full study and have evaluated the information in the study that tells us that we do have a basis for a race-conscious and gender-conscious program. We have with us tonight Rodney Strong from Griffin & Strong, who is available to answer any questions if you have that. But we would like to ask that you adopt the resolution to accept the findings of the 2023 Guilford County Disparity Study that was conducted by Griffin & Strong, and then authorize the county manager to implement the recommendations from the study.
For discussion purpose, do we have a motion?
Move approval. Mr. Chair. Second.
Motions and also seconds. Okay. All right, now further discussion on the motion. Any questions for Ms. Thomas or Mr. Strong?
I do want to say thank you for such a very comprehensive presentation at the last meeting and being able to answer questions that we had, and with a very good plan and with recommendations to move us forward. So
thank you. Thank you, Madam.
The short time that you've been here.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner.
Strong, thank you and welcome to Guilford County. And I know it's understanding you drove up from Atlanta today to attend this meeting, so we thank you and appreciate the work that you did as far as putting this study together, and we can assure you it won't gather dust on the shelf.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to also say thank you to Griffin & Strong also for all the work that they put into the study and their help in getting Guilford County to this point.
Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Next item is the Truist Parking Deck Repair Contract Award. Eric?
Thank you. This is an item that was on consent, I believe, earlier, and it was tabled, and we're bringing it back to you today. This is a part of the bonds, 2/3 bonds projects that were authorized. This is repair work for the Truist Parking Deck to repair existing damage and do some waterproofing to extend the life of the deck. The bid process was executed, competitive bid process. We had 3 respondents. High Rock Waterproofing was the low bidder. You see the numbers there, $709,286, including the alternate. The alternate was to do weekend and off-hours work to minimize the disruption to the deck. High Rock has done a great job working with Sean and the MWB office to get the participation level that you see there at $187,462. So we're recommending this award to you tonight to award the contract to High Rock Waterproofing in substantial form so we can move ahead with this.
Your motion.
Move approval.
Proper second. Further discussion on the motion. Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you, Thank you, Eric. Don't go far because you're up next also. Discussion of disposition of the county property at 4525 West Window Avenue. Eric, or okay.
I'm at the very end of new business. I had to get something to drink. You can see why I'm drinking some ginger ale. My blood sugar's plummeting. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is a overview of the animal shelter property, the old animal shelter property. There's some photos of the current condition of the shelter since we've moved into the new shelter on Guilford College Road. The old shelter is no longer in service, obviously, and is no longer of use to the county. The backside of the property slopes down towards I don't know, ravine's a strong word, but definitely a drop-off. And there's a area of kudzu back there that's encroaching on our property, and as time goes on, it successfully encroaches further and further. You can see the pictures there in 2016 when the facility was in operation. It was well cared for, as it has stood now without any occupants, as any building does when it's not occupied. It tends to drift into disarray. The property is a little bit confusing. It's multiple lots that comprise a single property. This is a site plan of the property. The Humane Society is on the front at Wendover, and we have a strip of land that goes back to our property. There's a parking lot in front of our property that has some restrictions on the deed that if we decide to cease the operation of the shelter and sell the property, the Humane Society would return ownership. They would retain ownership of that property since they gifted it to us. But that's the survey of the property and the different lots involved. The site's approximately 6.8 acres in totality. It's got joint ownership between the county, High Point, and the city of Greensboro. This is an agreement from the past. Again, I mentioned the deed restriction on the parking area. It's 1.6 acres that the Humane Society would have the rights to retain ownership of. We did an appraisal in February of last year, and the 1.6 acres was about $395,000 as it was appraised. Total site was appraised at about $830,000 in 17, and then we reappraised it in 2022, and it was at $1.25 million. So that's the value of the whole site as appraised last year. Our recommendation, the property no longer has a a use as it stands for the county, and there's not a beneficial use for the structures on the site for the county. The maintenance and operation and security of the site is an ongoing expense that we have to shoulder as the county. And as the property ages, these costs will increase and the security risk will increase. So we would recommend that we make a decision on what to do with the property. We can declare it surplus. You can always declare something surplus. We could make modifications to the site to clear off the structures that are there and increase the security of the fencing if so desired to improve the security of the site. But as long as the buildings stand, it's still going to be a spot that would attract attention from people around. So you have multiple options you can approach, but we would strongly recommend we do something with the site to change it from its current condition.
Hear a motion?
Move to approve the recommendations is the motion to surplus and sell?
What is the motion for? What is the action?
I gave you two options. You can declare the property surplus and we can pursue to sell, or we could make modifications to the site to reduce the liability risk of having the structure standing empty and the security fencing around it be improved.
Declare it surplus?
To approve the staff recommendation to declare the property surplus and sale.
Second. Moving and properly second. Further discussion? Madam Attorney.
I have a discussion, a question.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, so the options were to move to sell and dispose of the property. I think one of the options, perhaps Mr. Hilton indicated previously, was to potentially demolish the property. So there's the surplus piece of it, but to also maybe provide options for disposition of the property, including whether to demolish. So I think the appropriate action at this time might be to move to declare it surplus, and then it gives this board the opportunity to decide which next steps may be appropriate, whether that's to retain the property or to dispose of it some other way.
Not combine the recommendation as far as possibly demolishing the property, declare it surplus, and also demolish the property.
If that's this board's pleasure, I just wanted to be clear that might, in case the board wanted to do something other than sell or to demolish.
I think the point of clarification also was covering the word selling.
Yes.
Because there might be some consideration for using the property for something else, potentially. So surplus, but maybe not selling yet. Is that what you're saying?
It is what I'm saying, Commissioner Cook, you're correct. The surplusing is one step in the process. The decision on whether to demolish or to sell it is this board's pleasure as well. And so I just want you all to have that full, menu of options to your disposal as to whether you want to demolish it or to sell it.
Can we do a friendly amendment to the language just so we can include the other options, like to demolish? I mean, that way, that would give us the room.
Well, maybe if I can offer some language, perhaps we can make the friendly amendment to move to declare the property surplus and to evaluate options for selling and or demolishing the building located on the property.
Right.
Mr. Chairman. Yes,
okay, the amendment along with that, Mr. Upchurch, I'm trying to get an amendment first so we can discuss. It's a friendly amendment. Okay, so the motion has been amended. Discussion on the amended motion, Mr. Upchurch.
So do we have to approve a surplus in order to demolish the property? Is that like step one and step two?
Yes, Commissioner.
So we couldn't demolish the property without surplusing it first?
The first step is to declare it surplus property.
In addition to that, do we also want to ask staff to bring us the cost of how much that would cost? Do we direct staff to to do that due diligence work for us before at the next meeting.
Problem with that?
I'd accept that to the end of the friendly amendment that I made. So, because it was the evaluation, but then it's and staff presenting those findings to us at the next meeting. I would agree with Mr. Upchurch.
That next meeting can be at our retreat, of course. So what about a cost cap? We had discussed, what about a cost cap for them to possibly, well, that would come after they bring back the numbers. Go ahead. I have Ms. Murphy first and then Ms. Cook.
Thank you. Just a question for Madam Attorney to clarify. When we're talking about surplusing a property, can you just explain exactly what that status means? Does it simply mean that we don't intend to use the buildings for their original purpose any longer, and then we can proceed with how we might want to use the property in the future?
Well said, Commissioner Murphy.
Okay.
Spot on.
Thank you.
Cook, anything on that?
Well, I was going to ask Madam Attorney or Mr. Hilton if they would prefer or have a different recommendation on how to move forward. Should this be one motion altogether, or should we do the surplus motion and then have a separate discussion or motion on next steps for potential demolition? Or does it matter?
That's a legal question there.
Okay.
You could combine it. It's this board's pleasure. I think we have clear direction on what the options may be.
Well, I guess some clarification might need to be made, in that if we want them to go ahead and, well, the motion is for them to bring back a cost for demolition. Okay, that may not have to wait until our next meeting. If we want them to proceed immediately to tear down the property, then we should let them know that and then give them a cap on what we would think their price should possibly be.
We could do that.
So
if
the
that's
question,
the desire.
what's the will of the board to meet, to go ahead and do this now, or wait 2 weeks from now and then get a price on it and then give them the direction to go ahead and tear it down? Or do you want to go ahead and make a cap, give them direction now to tear it down immediately, and then with a cap on what that expense should be?
Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney.
Madam Attorney.
Madam Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, and just so that we don't get too far, I don't lose track of where we are. I think correct me if I'm wrong, we have a motion on the floor from Madam Vice Chair with some friendly amendments that have occurred. I think probably would be in the board's best interest right now to address the motion on the floor, and if it fails, then to proceed forward. But I think you have an open question on the floor.
Would you restate the motion exactly as it would be to vote on?
Robin has.
What I have, the friendly amendment that's been accepted so far is to move to declare the property surplus and to evaluate options to sell or demolish the building on the property. I don't have.
And Mr. Upchurch's friendly amendment, which
yeah,
was,
clarity
and
if
to
that was
present
accepted.
those findings back to the board, including a demolition cost estimate.
So that, again, just to clarify, the motion is for us to wait, for the staff to wait until we decide on, for them to go back and do some due diligence as far as how much it's going to cost, and then bring that back to us before they act. Okay? That's the motion, but if you want to do something different, it's more expedient, then we would need another substitute motion or another friendly amendment to that motion. More so a substitute motion would probably be in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Cashin.
thank you. I do have some concerns about waiting now that we know the vulnerability, the condition of the property, and that it is not monitored ongoing. We try, but it can't be monitored daily. I would suggest that the board consider setting an amount not to exceed. If the projected estimated amount exceeds that limit that we set, then they would have to come back to us. But up to that amount, let them proceed so that we're not waiting. I would not want us to take a chance on something happening on that property that is not occupied and not safe. Now that we know.
I hear that. I think there's one concern, Chairman, which is, and this is something I think I've heard maybe even Commissioner Perdue say before, that if we set that amount now, that's what the bid is going to be, even if it's over what it would cost.
It's up to, and we would certainly expect facilities to do their due diligence in looking and taking cost estimates on that. I'm comfortable with that up to 250.
Substitute motion to include that language.
Then, Madam Attorney, would you frame that so that we are seeing it the way we want it? We want to surplus the property. Well, maybe we do or don't want to, but surplus the property, give staff instructions to proceed with the cost estimates up to an amount, and I will say 250. Eric, do you think that would be?
That's a good place to start.
Up to 250,000, and proceed with demolishing and cleaning up the property as soon as possible.
I'll do my best, Commissioner Cashin. The motion would be to declare the property as surplus property and to direct staff to secure bids up to or not to exceed $250,000 to clear the property as necessary to secure it.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
Yes.
And that would be a substitute motion. Do I hear a second on the substitute motion?
I add one little thing, and any needed budget or ordinance amendments.
And you what?
And to authorize any.
Oh, excuse me, okay.
And to authorize any additional budgetary components that may be necessary.
Do I hear a second on that motion?
We have a second, Dan, to the right.
I actually said I have a clarifying question.
Do I hear a second on that motion first? I'll second it. You can't second it. You can second
I already seconded that one.
You can second it.
Okay, second.
Second it.
Right. All right, so the substitute motion is so stated, it was declared surplus, but we authorize staff to move forward with demolition of the property up to $250,000 with the appropriate budget amendments. Right? All right, discussion on that motion, substitute motion.
Can I point out something, Mr. Chairman, just in reading the text? I think what Commissioner Cashin was asking is just to move forward. You've got it as secure bids. So that implication is not necessarily for us to execute the work, but to get the bids. So I just want to clarify that if you want us to move ahead, then the motion needs to stay staff to move ahead with instead of just secure bids.
Those were my words, to move ahead with demolition.
Those were your words, madam.
Up to the $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dollar amount's correct on the screen, but the secure bid part's what caught my eye.
We want you to clear it ASAP.
I understand.
Subject to the voter.
Discussion on the substitute motion, Ms. Foster.
I just have a question since I missed the work session. What interest would High Point or Greensboro have in this property, or agreeing? Do they have to agree to the action that we're trying to take, since they own a portion of it?
That's the Humane Society that owns a portion of it, right?
No, I think High Point and Greensboro do own a portion of one of the lots. Of the properties, yeah. I'm not aware of their ownership.
We're just talking about the building.
We're talking about the building right now.
Okay.
We're talking about clearing
Just
the
for clarity.
buildings and all the debris and the growth. And,
Okay, I'm good. We're just talking about not the lots.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the additional owners, I would advise notifying them before taking these steps and notifying those bodies as well prior to actually doing this. So, depending upon the action tonight, I would recommend
a letter going from this body declaring the intention before any steps be taken.
And to notify any and all owners of the parcel. So amended. Further discussion on substitute motion? Hearing none, please cast your vote. And that passes on a 5-4 vote. All right. Next item is contract amendment design services for the new sheriff's office. Eric?
Okay, the architect that's working on the sheriff's office project, Walter Robbs, has several change orders that they need to present to us for extra work done outside of the original scope on the project. They're listed in your packet. I'll go through them briefly. There was a traffic control plan that was required by the city of Greensboro that was not expected. The level of detail that the city of Greensboro wanted us to execute for that traffic control plan required that Walter Robbs go out and hire a civil engineer to design and stamp the plans to satisfy the city of Greensboro's requirements. The second one was the idea that we had to try to save cost and accelerate schedule by putting together an advanced steel package, so that we did an extra layer of design and procurement to purchase steel ahead of the rest of the design packages for phase 2. And that allowed us to get in line at the steel mills to secure an order when the steel demand was extraordinarily high and the prices were rising. So that extra effort was required. As part of the effort to save cost, we decided to do a roof survey, to do a condition assessment of the existing roof that we were going to retain and see if it was worth salvaging. And if it was, what would be the potential cost to repair versus the cost to replace. And that was the third change order, $3,000. There was a phasing effort that we had to do because of the decision to break the project up into phases to better execute the project. When we originally contracted with Walter Robb, it was going to be a single phase job, and they priced it as such. In addition, there was also additional scope added at I think it was the September meeting, where we increased the size of the project from 35,000 square feet to 40,000 square feet, and that additional design effort was not included in the Walter Robbs scope of work. Walter Robbs priced a 35,000 square foot project. So the extra work to do the phasing design and the extra work to account for the square footage. Additionally, there was extra work for design and holding cells that were not in the original scope of work in the transfer tunnel. And there was some security design work that we were planning to give to a third-party design firm, and that plan was not the best plan in my mind, so I said, let's let Walter Robbs do that work instead of finding another firm to engage and try to coordinate. So we gave Walter Robbs a security design element that was not in their original scope. So that's the $125,000. And then the last one was the design services for BIM. That stands for Building Information Modeling. That's something that Samet would have done, but it made more sense for Walter Robbs and the engineering firm to do it, so we pulled it away from Samet and gave it to Walter Robbs, and they're giving us a change order because they didn't have that in their original scope as well. So that was the $24,000. So all total, there's a change order there for 100 and whatever that number was, $172,160. $172,160 is the total amount of those 5 change orders.
All right, any questions on Eric on that? Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moving to property second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Thank you, Eric.
I think I'm done for the night.
Think you're done.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Good job.
Good job today. Next item is Health and Human Services update. Ms. Barlow, DHHS, DSS, and mandated performance measures. Ms. Barlow.
Good evening. Wanted to update you on the DHHS performance measures, and then I also have two quick updates on the FNS skimmers that were found. I wanted to give you some information from the state. So our mandated performance measures for November, the one I want to draw your attention to is our FNS number 2. And the benchmark for that is 95%, and we were at 92.89. So that continues to be a challenge. One of the reasons for that this month, October and November, was, if you'll remember, the state system went down for a number of days, and across the state we were not able to process any, we weren't able to use NC Fast at all. So that caused an issue not only in food stamps but Medicaid and Child Protective Services, and so the state will not hold us accountable for those research, but that did cause a delay in processing for some of those. The other one that I wanted to bring your attention to is our Adult Protective Services evaluation timeliness. We were at 89%, but that is something that we're working with our team on in terms of being much more proactive with resources and getting adults and families the services that they need. So it has taken us on 4 evaluation a little more than 30 days. But to us, that's not necessarily a bad thing when we're making sure that families have what they need and not tied so closely to that 30 days. But we're going to work on that a little bit more. Happy to answer any questions about the performance requirements if you have those.
No questions, but the timeliness of processing applications looks really good, particularly for heat this time of year that people know. But I do know that you don't have this broken out between High Point and Greensboro.
That's correct. Our system doesn't break it out between High Point and Greensboro, but of course it is our busy season with energy, LEAP, and SIP. So that's we've had lots of applications for that recently.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did want to just briefly update you. I know you're all aware of the skimmers that were put on different retailers to skim FNS benefits, and we are working very closely with the state. We have heard from USDA that there will be replacement benefits. We don't know exactly what that will look like yet, but are working with the state on that. We're working with Julie Smith and her team and putting out information on food resources. We do know that it affected about 200 households across the state, about 100 of those in Guilford, and median benefit loss was approximately $600. So significant, and we are concerned about that and working with folks on getting those benefits replaced through their federal benefits, so we have to get those replaced through USDA. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Any questions for Ms. Ball?
And then lastly, just a bit of good news. Our FJC DSS specialized team moved in this week. So we are fully staffed with that and have been working with Catherine and her team on getting everything up and running. But they did move in over there this week. And Catherine and I hope to have an update for you in a couple months about numbers and where we are with that. Okay, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is appointment and reappointments to various boards and commissions, starting with Commission on Aging. Appoint Robert Gergen to first term. GTCC Board of Trustees, reappoint George W. Ragsdale to a second term. Guilford County Planning Board, appoint Greg Drumright to first term as Board of Commissioners District 7 designee. Health and Human Services Advisory Board, reappoint Elizabeth Jones to second term in Citizens Greensboro's position. Jury Commission, reappoint April O. Coleman to second term as Board of Commissioners designee. And Visit High Point, appoint Amoy Ledoux Coleman to first term as Large Hotels representative, and appoint Brandy M. Crumley to first term as at-large representative. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Moving to properly second, any ready on the question? Please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Next item is exceptional reappointments to various boards and commissions. And that is Commission on Aging, reappoint Carolyn Baggerstaff to 5th term, reappoint B.J. Gerald Covington to 4th term, and reappoint Kim Ketchum to 5th term, and reappoint Dan Mozak to 4th term. And Historic Preservation Commission, reappoint Terry Hammond to 6th term as Oak Ridge designee. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Move to proper second, discussion on the motion. Hearing none, please cast your vote. That passes on a unanimous vote. Next item is commission liaison reports. Any commission liaison reports? Mr. Jones?
Just one brief one. I attended my first meeting for the Burlington Graham Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Advisory Committee on this past Tuesday. That was down in Burlington. As you know, the Guilford County is a member of at least 2 TACs. One is the Burlington Graham. The other is here in Greensboro. The biggest takeaway that I would note for the board is that the NCDOT has a carbon reduction program where they made funding available to the various transportation advisory committees. For the BGMPO, they got about $275,000. Of that, Burlington got $210,000. $150,000 of it was to offset the cost for bus fares, so they're able to hold their bus fares at $1 as opposed to $2 for people. And then they were also able to get $60,000 to install charging stations. So it may be something instructive for us as we look at the other tax that we're a part of. The other thing I'll just quickly mention is that the NCDOT has developed certain safety performance targets they do on an annual basis around reducing fatalities and serious injuries. And the goal is to reduce those by half by 2035. So just a couple of notes for us.
Your liaison reports. Seeing none, all right. Mr. Manager?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a FYI for the board, this afternoon, but not in enough time to get it onto our agenda, Dr. Oakley sent a request to get a capital project ordinance adjustment for PEC Expeditionary Learning K-8 program. It's about a $370,000 drop from what they had provided the other day. Wasn't enough time today for us to take a look at it, get the stuff set up. So the next Board of Education meeting is the 26th of January. So let's take a look at it, and then we can discuss whether or not we need at the work session we talked about possibly a special meeting if we needed it to keep them on schedule. So I'll share the request with you after I get home tonight, and then we can work on a date if needed.
Comments from commissioners. Let's start with Mr. Upchurch.
No comments tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Cook?
Just a couple quick things.
I know you couldn't keep it going, but
I know. No. Famous last words. A couple of quick things. First, I wanted to congratulate Chairman Austin on his award. He received the Everyday Champion of Civil Rights Award. I was not able to attend the breakfast, but congratulations. We certainly get to see you doing that work here all the time. So congratulations, it's well earned. Sharing with all of you that we have our Transportation Task Force meeting set with our Greensboro and High Point partners next Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to starting that discussion with them to see what we can do to improve access to transportation for people in our community. And then not necessarily, I didn't include this on our liaison reports because there wasn't a meeting, but the Greensboro Loop is going to open early, and so I think the transportation staff at Greensboro, the city of Greensboro, and that committee should be applauded for their hard work to keep that moving. Thank you.
Good. Ms. Cash.
Give an update, but to congratulate you and also to congratulate all of those. I heard so many wonderful comments about the breakfast. NAACP breakfast, people coming and talking about it. I was at a
Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast.
Yeah, well, but you put it on. I was at a meeting Monday night, and several people came in and said, "Oh, I missed you at the breakfast this morning," and so forth. And so, thank you for the part that the leadership that you add to that ongoing. ongoing. It's about time you got recognized. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perdue.
Comments tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tillman.
No comments tonight, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Only two things. One is wishing a happy birthday to Pastor William Wright at New Zion Missionary Baptist Church. Went to his birthday over lunch earlier today. And also with Commissioner Cook and Commissioner Alston, we're out at the Stillhouse earlier today with a number of other elected officials from Greensboro, as well as our U.S. House Representative, Kathy Manning. And so that was a great event, and really looking forward to the work at the Stillhouse. Nothing else.
Here, Ms. Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by thanking Chairman Alston, Commissioner Jones for participating, and Commissioner Upchurch for participating in the High Point Martin Luther King Jr. Parade on Saturday. It was very cold, but they braved the cold to do that. Also, I attended today at High Point University the swearing in for their first cohort of campus police. So that program was well represented with law enforcement officers from across the state, and our county, our sheriff's department was well represented, as well as High Point Police. Congratulations to Mr. Chairman on his award for Monday. Certainly that is your forte. That's what you do in your everyday life and in leading this board. So congratulations, well deserved. The High Point Ministers Conference did sponsor an MLK Scholarship Breakfast on Monday. I want to congratulate Keith Pemberton II, who was the top winner. Brandy Williams was the first runner-up, and Kendall Ingram was the second runner-up. They received scholarships from $5,000 to $2,000. And Keith Pemberton has been accepted to Yale. So he was the top scholarship winner there. I do want to give a shout out to Guilford County EMS. We had a bus accident today. Carl Chavis YMCA bus was involved in an accident. But EMS was on the scene when I got there, and they did a very great job of relating to the children that were on the bus. There were no serious injuries. We're thanking God for that. But they did an excellent job on the bus with the children, talking to them, getting, because it was just a little unnerving. But again, there were no serious injuries, and we are really grateful for that. So.
Yeah. Let me also thank those who participated in the MLK parade in Greensboro. That was our 33rd parade. We've been doing this since 1990. So we're appreciative of all the people who came out. Had over 5,000 people that was a part of the parade, and probably about 10,000 that lined the streets of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive to witness the parade. So we're grateful for them coming out and braving the cold in order to celebrate and keep the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. alive and well. I also want to give a shout out to Temple Emmanuel. They kick the weekend off every year with the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration service at Temple Emmanuel. So I attend that, and I don't think I've ever missed one. They've been doing it for 28 years now. So I've attended every last one of them because that's my way of really getting ready to recognize Dr. King on that weekend and start the celebration. The NAACP, they did not have the Gospel Fest that we usually have every year because of COVID, but we will try to have it next year. So get ready for that event. We usually have a lot of choirs and participation on that event also on that Sunday before that Monday, King's Day. And I too want to thank Greensboro, City of Greensboro, for the award that they gave me for Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. So I keep doing that. I keep on trying to keep Dr. King's dream alive because that's inside of me. And I hope that everyone knows that that's not a day off, it's a day on. A day on to bring about freedom, justice, and equality for all. So, with that said.
I'd like to congratulate Pastor Robert J. Williams, who was the City of High Point's 2023 humanitarian. He was recognized this weekend at our Martin Luther King Black and White Gala. He was recognized at his church, and he was also recognized at High Point City Council on Tuesday and given the key to the city. So
Let me say, Madam Vice Chair, that was a great event that you all put on Saturday night, and all the Martin Luther King Jr. and the people that you all recognize was very, very well deserved, and it's a great event.
Thank you so much for attending and supporting.
All right, anything else, Madam Clerk?
Our centenarian is close by. They had some parking issues and will be here any second now. Ms. Webb went to go get her. So before we jump out of here, she's on her way in.
Okay, and I think that is worth waiting for. Okay. And she's more than just a centenarian. How old is she?
No, she turned 100. That was the
100?
other one that was 102.
The other one was 102.
Yeah, 102.
Okay.
She just turned 100.
So I think we can wait on someone who has been around for 100 years and help her celebrate that milestone that one day we hope that we will be able to get to.
15 minutes ago, they said we coming in the building. I don't know.
And we don't have a closed session, so that's good. So we can get to go home early. And there's no football on for Thursday night, so that's good too. Madam Clerk, the agenda for the the retreat, when would that go out? And I think we sent out some notices to anyone that wanted to probably add some things to the retreat.
Yes, actually, thank you. A couple updates on that. We do have a facilitator that's going to help us again at the retreat. So I'll be reaching out to you guys and sending emails to do some one-on-ones with her in preparation for the retreat agenda. So please check your emails later tonight and see if you can lock in a time to meet with her when I send you the dates. She's willing to just an hour, could be on the weekends, just want to get your feedback in preparation for the retreat materials. I hope to have the retreat agenda to you, a rough draft. My goal is to have it to you at least 7 to 10 days before the meeting, but within 5 days of the meeting, you should have a retreat agenda. I do have a section on the agenda for commissioners. If there's any specific topic that you want us to add on and discuss, most of you have provided some feedback, but if you haven't provided feedback yet, if you'll send that to me or the manager, and we'll work on getting that on the second day of the agenda.
For the general public, where would our retreat be?
Oh, thank you. The retreat will be at our Burr Mill Park again this year. So I believe that's where we had it last year. Yep, in our off of 220 North.
Starting at what time on that Thursday?
8:30 Thursday morning. We hope to be completed by 5 o'clock. Friday schedule starting again 8:30. We hope to be out no later than 2 o'clock.
Any questions from the clerk on the retreat? Just trying to kill some time.
I hear you.
Trying to keep you talking.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to recess for 5 minutes, maybe we can help escort her into the building.
Right, NACO. We can talk about NACO. That's February the 11th, is it, Miss Madam Cashin? That is what, the 11th through the 13th, 14th? And we
Tuesday, whatever.
We have a list of folks that's going to the NACO conference. But I know we got some folks on this, especially on this side here, and a few on this side too, that tell us what national committees you all are on. That might take about 3 or 4. You want to brag on yourself about the national committees and what some of the things that you all are trying to accomplish.
Commissioner Perdue is presenting at the NACO Ledge Conference.
Oh, is he?
Tell us about it, Commissioner Perdue.
Yes.
What are you presenting on, Mr. Perdue?
I serve on the Telecommunications and Technology Steering Committee, and I'll be presenting on the Public Safety Communication Enhancement Project that we funded with Guilford County Schools to help other counties understand that critical need for first responder communications and what they can do to help meet that need
What date and what time?
That'd be Saturday the 11th.
Saturday at 11.
The committee meeting's 9:30 to 4:30, so I don't have a specific time yet.
But it's that Saturday. You said at 11?
No, it's 9:30 to 4:30 is our committee meeting, but I don't know what time I'm on the agenda yet.
Well, we'll make
You'll
sure
let us
we're
know.
there.
It'll be standing room only, so I would go ahead and
Go
reserve
ahead
a
and
spot.
get the reserve. You're right. All right.
Yeah, so.
And Ms. Murphy, you're on our committee, right?
Yes, we won't be having a formal meeting of the core network. However, I have not shared yet with this board because I'm waiting for official notice, but I did learn recently that I have received a presidential appointment to the Immigration Reform Task Force, and so we'll be participating in their meeting. We have a call next week, and then also we'll have a task force meeting at the conference on Sunday for a couple of hours, Sunday afternoon. So I'm excited to have been participating at NACO conference in those sessions, and just learned that I will be getting a presidential appointment to have voting authority and to be able to participate in monthly meetings as well. So excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Cook?
Yes, sir. I will be attending the NACO Ledge Conference. I don't currently serve on any steering committees at the NACO level.
I'll do
One.
Oh,
I don't have a steering committee,
yes,
I
ma'am.
guess.
I'm participating in one. Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
Ms. Cashin, I know you have a long list of committees you serve on.
Well, on Saturday morning, well, all day Saturday from 9 till 4-ish, Justice and Public Safety, Vice Chair of that committee. And on Arts and Culture, I'm Vice Chair of that committee. I am co-sponsoring a resolution on historic preservation that will be coming up to go as an interim resolution between now and the annual meeting. Also serve on a number of others, including larger urban county caucus. And so there will be a meeting and a special reception on that. Healthy Counties, the Women of NACO, and a number of others that we are fortunate to have a Guilford County seat on, several committees, the Veterans Committee, I serve on that. And some of these overlap, so you have to choose which one you're going to go to at a given time. I hate that, but usually what I do is I'll choose one for Ledge and then pick up on the other one at annual. So, but lots going on. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, you still the president of the...
I am not. I am the immediate past president of WAN. So I will be attending the WAN events, and I'm going to be sure that Commissioner Cashin gets me on the Arts and Culture Committee.
Happy to have you accompany me right in and get you there. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to report out? And while Ms. Foster, you're talking, you can go ahead and continue and welcome our guests.
Hey.
She's here? Yes, sir.
All right, y'all good now with Miss Lucille? Y'all good? Okay, it is truly my distinct honor to present a resolution honoring centenarian Ms. Lucille Anderson. Sorry you had so much trouble trying to get here and in this building, but you're here. And I had the opportunity to celebrate with them at her birthday party on December the 3rd. She has an extremely large family, lots of children, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and community people who just love and support her. So one of those people that love and we need to get more support is my niece, Kyra, who is her great-granddaughter as well. So whereas Lucille Anderson was born on December 10th, 1922 in Darlington, South Carolina, but was reared in High Point, North Carolina by her parents, along with her 7 siblings. And whereas as a young woman, she left High Point and lived in New Jersey for 30 years, where she raised her 2 daughters, Lysandra and Lavilla, both of whom preceded her in death. And whereas upon her return home, Ms. Anderson became a fixture within the community, pleasantly interacting with many High Point Furniture Market attendees as a waitress at the top of the mart for 8 years, followed by her employment at the former High Point Radisson, where she worked for 22 years until her retirement in 2007. And whereas Ms. Anderson also contributed to her beloved community as a small business owner of Seals Beauty Salon for 15 years, located on Washington Street in High Point. And whereas Ms. Anderson is affectionately known as Gramps by her 7 grandchildren, 11 great-grandchildren, and 6 great-great-grandchildren, and a host of family and friends within the High Point community with whom she shares her wisdom and stories of her life and experiences. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Guilford County Board of Commissioners express their appreciation and admiration for the life and accomplishments of centenarian Lucille Anderson and extends its sincerest congratulations in the celebration of her 100th birthday. This was designed to be presented on the 15th day of December 2022, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the corporate seal of the County of Guilford to be affixed. This the 15th day of December 2022. Melvin Skip Austin, Chairman, and J. Carvina Foster, Vice Chair, Guilford County Board of Commissioners. Is Ms. Seal able to come up here to receive this?
Let's give her a rousing
Go down.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Right along, the next item of business is
Move adjournment.
all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those abstain, ayes have it, so ordered. We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Oh, my goodness.